Section 17, subsection 5, clause C, which talks about GST paid in works contract, ITC not allowed. What is works contract? I referred section 2, subsection 119, which means contract for building, construction, fabrication, completion, erection, installation, fitting out, improvement, modification, repair, maintenance, renovation, alteration, or commissioning of any immovable property wherein the transfer of property in goods, whether as goods or in some other form, is involved in the execution of such contract. Means basically it is for any immovable property, was contract in relation to immovable property, then only it is was contract under the GST law. If so, ITC allowed? Not allowed. However, if the works contract service is in relation to plant and machinery, ITC allowed. What do you mean by plant and machinery? The expression plant and machinery means apparatus, equipment and machinery fixed to earth by foundation or structural support that are used for making outward supply of goods or services or both, and includes such foundation and structural supports but excludes land, building or any other civil structure, telecommunication towers and pipelines laid outside the factory premises, is called as plant and machinery. Plant and machinery does not include land, building or any civil structure. Plant and machinery does not include telecommunication towers. Plant and machinery does not include pipelines laid outside the factory premises. Thereby, while laying that works contract service received, ITC not allowed. Other than these three, plant and machinery, ITC is allowed, even though the works contract in relation to the plant and machinery, which is not land, which is not telecommunication towers, which is not for pipeline laying outside the factory, ITC is allowed. If it is a civil structure, works contract services in relation to civil structure, ITC not allowed. This is none other than a particular immovable property which is under construction. This particular property owned by A Limited for their own factory, they are constructing this particular building which is upcoming property, immovable property, is civil structure, therefore not a plant and machinery. Now A Limited appointed B Limited to supply works contract services, meaning land is owned by A Limited, but here land value not included. B Limited agreed to provide material, agreed to provide labor, that's it, in relation to an immovable property which is not a plant and machinery. Now such service supplied by B Limited is called as works contract services. Such works contract services provided to A Limited by B Limited. For A Limited, it is not qualified for input tax credit because it is a blocked credit under section 17, subsection 5, clause C. A Limited, being a manufacturer, is not eligible to avail GST on works contract service as ITC since it is blocked credit to A Limited. Further, B Limited, while providing works contract services of their output supply to A Limited, B Limited received cement for factory building purpose. He purchased the cement by paying the GST. Works contractor received the steel, iron, etc. by paying the GST to provide output supply of works contract service. Now works contractor here is B Limited when they procure the goods or services by paying the GST. B Limited, while providing output supply of works contract services, B Limited liable to pay GST. While B Limited going to pay the GST on their output supply of works contract, B Limited being a works contractor can avail input task rate of the cement, steel, iron which he received to provide output supply. The law of the land says yes, allowed to avail. B Limited, you are a works contractor. You are providing works contract services. For you, your input supply qualify for ITC. GST paid on cement, steel and iron and so forth is allowed as ITC to B Limited. Further, my dear friends, A Limited factory building which is under construction, not a plant and machinery. B Limited, a works contractor, providing works contract services to A Limited. In that case, A Limited, as you are aware of that, not eligible to avail input task rate. A Limited being a manufacturer is not eligible to avail GST on works contract service as it is. So far, so good. Further, B Limited subcontracted the same work to C Limited. C Limited being a subcontractor supplied the works contract services to B Limited. In return, B Limited further supplying the works contract services to A Limited. In that case, B Limited seeks your advice. Am I eligible to avail input task rate on my inward supply of works contract services? Works contract services is blocked credit, but for a works contractor who received works contract services from another subcontractor, it is not blocked credit. Therefore, B Limited is eligible to avail input task rate. B Limited being main contractor received works contract services from subcontractor by paying the GST which is allowed as ITC to the main contractor, namely to the works contractor. But works contracted services to the end user A Limited in relation to the plant and machinery, ITC allowed. If it is not a plant and machinery, ITC not allowed. Since in the given case, B Limited provided works contract services to A Limited, which is not a plant and machinery, but it is immovable property. In that case, A Limited cannot avail the input task rate. Further, my dear friends, Section 17, Subsection 5, Class C, you understand as works contract service, which is blocked credit, unless it is in relation to plant and machinery. Plant and machinery other than civil structure, other than telecommunication towers, other than pipelines laying outside the factory premises. Other than these three, any plant and machinery for which works contract inward supply qualify for ITC. Now, one example here. I want to construct this particular foundation structure for installing my machine in my factory. Machinery want to install on the foundation structure attached to the land, where I have to fit with the bolts and nuts, thereby to prevent the vibration in it, for which for construction of this particular structure I have taken help from a works contractor who constructed this particular foundation structure for me, who constructed foundation structure to lay this particular, to fit this particular machine. On that foundation structure, we installed machinery by attaching the bolts and nuts. So the foundation structure what they constructed, for which I received input services from works contractor. Works contractor provide the works contract services in relation to plant and machinery. Obviously, this is a plant and machinery. In that case, ITC is well allowed. Works contract service, inward supply in relation to plant and machinery, input task rate well allowed.